You may or not have been following all the drama at Twitter, but it's a whole lot. Elon Musk issuing a new ultimatum for his staff. They're hitting a deadline this afternoon to decide whether they will stay and work those long, intense hours or leave and take a 3-month severance pay. It follows weeks of controversy over Twitter. Joining us live now is Seth Thackner, managing editor of Strat America. Seth, good to see you. What is happening at Twitter? And at this point, are they viable for much longer?
Good to be here. There's a ton of chaotic stuff that's happening in the short term. I mean, the longer game is all about trying to reinvent the business. But I think, there's quite a few very significant issues that Mr. Musk and what remains of his team are facing right now. So the one you just mentioned, is about whether or not employees want to stay there in a really new kind of harsher environment. I think there was an email sent that spoke to that, asking them to opt in or opt out by the end of the day or take severance is probably the immediate thing. But, I think the broader issue that's happening here that I have I think a little bit more of a positive or constructive view is that they're trying to create a new revenue stream for a company that's always been kind of a quirky platform. And there's a ton of issues that they're going to have to go through, from moderation to staff cuts to keeping advertisers happy, that are going to set the stage for that'll happen. And I don't think you're going to see it for 6 to 12 months, but I think there is a longer game to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen social just hemorrhage money, whether that be Meta. At this point, Twitter is also on that same playing field. The question here is, Elon Musk has been very successful in his past companies. He's had Tesla, highly successful company. He was involved with PayPal. That seemed to work out just fine. But for some reason, is it the freedom of speech aspect, the opinion side that really has people just riled up because it's been so long controlled by one sector of the United States?
I think there's a lot of noise about that, just broadly speaking in the political or the media sphere. But, I think, to your point, Twitter's never been on the same level as some of those entities you just mentioned in terms of the tech titans, right? They've always been much smaller. They're way smaller than Meta or TikTok or even Snap. So, they've always been a quirky place for brands and advertisers. And I think what's happened with the transition is that it's even a little bit more radioactive of a spot right now to be looking at. So I think there's been brand pullback, and I would bet they won't go back until they feel comfortable on it. So I think that's probably one of the more serious things they're looking at. And, a big function of that is it's around moderating content on it. So you've seen this thing called Twitter Blue rolled out and rolled back, and it's been, no question, kind of a disaster. Yeah. And I think that needs to be righted for some of these interests to start coming back to get it, on a certain level. I mean, the broader thing that's happening that you mentioned with advertising, yeah, that's true. But I think there's some very specific issues this platform has. And
there's been a lot, like you say, a haphazard movement there on Elon Musk's part. And I think that the answer is Elon only survives if Twitter does. Does Twitter survive is really the greater question here.
Yeah, look, I mean, yes, they will survive. There's 274 million entities or something like that, people that have signed up for it. I don't know if they will thrive, so survive, but maybe not thriving down the road until, they really figure out.
If you're not making money. He put in $44 billion for something. If it's not returning, at that point, it's a lost cause.
But it is a privately held entity now. So there's lots of examples in the media world of privately held vehicles that are still out there that don't make money, So I don't think that's a good business model either. But I think I don't know if it'll be as successful as it used to be in the past until they figured out what it is. And, there's been some talk about him creating something that looks like something coming out of China, like a multi-services app, like a WeChat that has a lot of different utilities and payments in it. And it's an interesting idea. I mean, the big thing I think here that you mentioned earlier that's distinct about this from, a SpaceX or a Tesla, the boring company, all these things he has. This is a people-oriented digital services company that's about communications and media, basically. And it's a people-oriented entity, and that's a very distinct thing from building a rocket or an electric car, I think.
Definitely.
And so there's probably some org karma that is in there as well that maybe isn't matched up yet, All
right. Well, maybe we'll see another iteration of the bird come sometime soon. Seth Thackner, we appreciate coming on the DMV Zone.